Hello and welcome back to the podcast with Character. I am your host, Alexis, and my very special guest and friend joining us today is Andrew with Leading Our Own Way podcast. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me.
Such a pleasure to be here. It's weird to be on this side after I interviewed last week.
I know,
You,
and our interview went so long. It was like 2 hours. My flash stopped working. The dog was barking. It was just a mess. So I hope we got some good content.
it was perfect. It was just meant. It went how it was meant to be.
Yes, it was authentic. That's for sure.
Definitely.
Well, I'm so excited to have you on and to go into the psychology of the characters that helped you become who you are today. So let's just go right in. Let's just jump right into the deep end. Let's go for it. So, little Andrew, what was his favorite character or role model growing up?
You know, when you told me about what you do, I thought, I'm not going to fit on this podcast because I don't know, I haven't got anything. But then when we actually dug a little bit deeper, we have loads. Now, with me growing up, I grew up in I grew up with my mother and my grandma in the same house. My dad wasn't around. I met my dad a little bit later in life, around the 10-year mark, 9 years old, something like that. So I didn't have that male figure in my house. And I started playing basketball around the same time, actually, believe it or not. And it just feels, I don't know why it feels a bit cringy saying it, but you've made me feel safe to go and talk about it. But I grew up watching Michael Jordan play, and I just breathe basketball, right? I breathed it. I'm only small. If you come to Australia and we catch up, you're gonna go, really? You play basketball? But I just loved Michael Jordan, the way he conducted himself, the way he played, the way he stuck his tongue out, and the way he moved. And basketball was my life. So, like any other kid would go and imitate their favorite person, right? Whether it's an actor or a celebrity but yeah, Michael Jordan was someone I admired through the game of basketball. On the flip side, and I'm sure we'll dig deep into that, but the other one I really loved, and it's just come to me in the moment, my favorite movie is Back to the Future, and I loved Michael J. Fox. Loved. I know sounds really weird, but the way he used to run. Yeah, the way
Oh,
he used. I've not said this to many people, if I'm honest, but the way he used to run, I just thought it was freaking cool. The way he used to jump over the bench, and the way he used to look when he was running. I don't know what it was, just the way he ran. I just thought it was really cool, and yeah, his persona and his charisma. So I kind of took that, and then if you combine that with Saved by the Bell and Zach Morris, his hair, I loved his
yeah.
hair. And I wanted my hair cut like that, but I didn't have blonde hair. Well, I had blonde hair till about the age of 8, but older than that I was brown. I'm grey now, but I was brown. And yeah, I just loved his hair. So yeah, I think I know it's weird. It's not that I looked up to Michael J. Fox and Zach Morris like I did Michael, but I took a little bit of aspects of those characteristics and kind of blended them into my life, but put the Andy White mayonnaise on top of it, if that makes sense.
Yes. Oh my gosh, love that. I think you need to start your own mayonnaise company. Yeah, let's go into that because, okay, so you've taken the professionalism and the drive and the ambition and the strength of Michael Jordan, and you've paired that with the quirkiness, funny, adventurous, more curious side of Michael J. Fox, and then you've paired that with the charm and the
Yeah.
handsomeness of Saved by the Bell guy. So was this different ages or was this all at the same time?
I think they probably overlapped, but I'd even think as a late teen, young adult with Michael J. Fox, because you can always relate to him, can't you? Even now, if I watch it, I still think he's frigging cool. Michael, you realize at a certain point you can't play like Michael, but you can take his integrity of the game into life, not just the game of basketball, right? The authenticity of how he led. I talk about leadership quite a long. My journey around leadership's been quite formative, I suppose, and quite influential, both good and negative, right? Hence why my podcast exists, when we discuss and we've dug into. But yeah, I think Michael can always be with me. I just knew I couldn't play or make it like Michael at one point. Reality has to set in, doesn't it? But yeah, those personality traits can certainly stay with you. So going back to it, yeah, I think they overlapped. But Zach, when you hit 16, it probably wouldn't be cool to talk about Zach Morris anymore. But privately in your house on a Sunday morning when you're watching Saved by the Bell, and you go to school the next day, you're looking forward to seeing that girl you like, or or the way the jokes would come out. Now, I was a good kid at school. I was a bit of a I was athletic, but I was smart, and I did really work hard. I hated disappointing people, disappointing my teachers. I would work hard for them. And I'd come home and I'd have to have my homework done before I go out. And I've tried to analyze where that came from, and I still don't know, if I'm being honest. But I tested myself once. I remember going playing on the streets in my friend's place, and I left the homework on purpose, tried to do it later, but I couldn't actually enjoy myself. So I went home and did my homework and then came back out again. Yeah, I don't know why, because if I think about my son doing that, in a million years would he do that? But yeah, I've kind of got on a tangent there. But I think it was going back to Zach Morris, really. Zach Morris probably wouldn't have cared about his homework, but so it was clearly more about his appearance, but his charisma as a joke, and flirting with the girls and taking pieces of them. Because I was a single child, so I was quite shy. And I think anyone that knew me as a kid probably would have gone, if I'm being a teacher and what I'm doing, they'd be like, Andy, being a teacher? No way. But the people who know me later on, they'll be like, oh yeah, that's so Andy. He doesn't stop talking, as you've just found out for the last few minutes. So
yeah. Hey, that's what we're here for. We are here to allow you to talk and to ramble. And the thing that I love most about your characters is they are all, I mean, other than Zach, I can't speak because I didn't really watch that much Saved by the Bell, but Michael Jordan and Michael J. Fox are both, it's almost like this really healthy masculine, this quiet confidence where it's not arrogance. It's a true confidence that they feel,
But you just nailed it. Confidence. It was confidence, and confidence for me is understanding yourself as a flawed person, but still holding yourself in high regard. And all of those three boys did that. However, that people talk about the borderline of arrogance. For me, there's a very crystal clear cut between the difference. Some could say Zach was arrogant. I think if you got into deeper parts of Michael Jordan's life, there's probably definitely some arrogance there. But he would talk on adverts about failing over and over again, right? So that's the side I saw of him. But if you were to speak to one of his teammates, it might be very different. When you watch The Last Dance, you think about, oh, there's parts of him I didn't know, and people would say they didn't like him in certain areas. But I never saw that, obviously, growing up. I saw the difference. He would talk about failure. So for me, that's understanding yourself as a flawed person, but still holding yourself in high regard. Now, he wouldn't turn around and say, I'm the best in the world. And I certainly would never think I'm the best in the world. Because there's no clear-cut sign to tell me that anyway, but I would never do that. And I think that's where I also learned. I remember this advert where he was walking through, and he'd numbered the amounts of shots that he missed and the number of times he would be held account, to take the last shot type of things, put trust in his hands, and he would miss more than he made, but he also was rewarded for the amounts of wins he got at that last shot. So yeah, going back to I think for me, it was the confidence that they put out into the world. And they definitely saw themselves as a flawed person, but still held themselves in high regard. But if you get rid of the flawed person sentence, you're 100% arrogant, aren't you? Because you're only seeing yourself, you're only putting yourself in high regard, holding yourself in high regard. But I think if you then put those two sentences together, it's crystal clear what confidence is. And for me, that's what those two in particular were. It was probably more Zach's flirtatious personality and hairstyle that I was probably drawn to, because I could never talk to girls like that.
Yeah, his egoic external confidence, and then the Michael's internal quiet confidence, and also the charisma as well. And when you watched Back to the Future back in the day, and you saw his interaction, with the bully and how he prevailed and how he overcame, did that inspire you as a child?
Yeah, the way he just would come out. I mean, he was in an unusual situation, wasn't he? Let's face it. And I never was in that situation, but I did dream about traveling because of that movie. But the way he just the way he held himself up in certain situations, he used humor, didn't he? He was a small dude. I was not a small dude, but around the game of basketball I was. But at school I was probably very, very average, but if not taller than most. But I never really got myself in difficult situations at school. I probably avoided negativity as I do today. But I did get bullied at school. I did, but I did pretty well. I didn't have a bad childhood at all. I know I mentioned some of those things before that were quite negative, but yeah, I don't know. That's a pretty good question, actually. Never really dug deep about it. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I've
Because you
answered the question
mentioned
very well.
that all these characters, they, we have Zach, who's the more confident, like externally egoic inspiration, but then you have the Michaels. And I mean, look at Michael J. Fox's career now. I mean, even though he has this illness and he's experiencing this in his life, he is still prevailing. He's still putting himself out there, and he is still confident. And Michael Jordan, I mean, I'm sure you watched Space Jam as a kid. I remember I did. And these characters, like you mentioned, they have to experience adversity or struggle, because that's what builds character. You can't just be the hot guy, that might work temporarily, but it doesn't make you admire someone. What makes you admire someone is what they overcome in order to become the person that they are, that inspires other people. Which is why I love your podcast, because it's all about showcasing people who have overcome difficult circumstances and different difficult situations, and who have built character because of that.
Sure, absolutely. You've nailed it with going back to Michael J. Fox. He obviously would never have known what was going to happen to him, and the success and all that pleasure that he would have gone through, filming Family Ties, Back to the Future at the same time, 2 and 3 overlapped. He was just getting admiration from left, right, and center. Women probably throwing themselves at him, whether he wanted that or not, for who he was. And unfortunately, Atkinson's come out, and I think you're right. He's turned that pain, that I don't know how to label it, into a purpose, hasn't he? He's raised over, I think, $1 billion for Parkinson's disease. His wife has stuck by him. His children. I mean, why wouldn't they? Of course, but he's still got his beautiful family, and he's just doing wonderful things. And it's so. When I look at his situation now, it's so sad to see him. And then you watch the video and the way he ran, I'm like, that actually devastates me, because I look at the way he runs and walks and think, and it's just so sad. It devastates me. But yeah, that strength that he is, I've never really thought about that. But when you do think about it, it makes you want to. It goes back to choices, doesn't it? We have choices, and we can turn everything we go through into strength. And what I've said to you before, even like on my podcast, I went away and really studied the brain and human physiology and tried to make small changes in my life that's turned into big changes. So when something does go wrong again in the future, because it will, someone's going to pass, or you don't know what's going to happen on a daily basis, you're better prepared for it. We can prepare for these moments in a much stronger way, and it doesn't mean avoid the emotions. It doesn't mean not sit in it and sadness and for a while, but I think we'll be able to manage it better. And I suppose through even those characters, you can embed that into it for sure. But again, I've never consciously thought about that until you just asked me, and it's something I need to probably think about a little bit more.
Yeah, because these men that you admire, they are so strong, and they have such very well-rounded characters. And it's the thing, it's like, yes, Michael Jordan might have been a great basketballer, but he was a great person. And I'm sure that some people didn't like him, and some people had their, own opinions, but that's how it is going to be with anyone and everyone. I mean, each of us, because there's always going to be contrast. You can't just be the most loved person in the world, period. Like, you're always going to have haters. And but these people, they created empires. They believed in themselves, and they changed lives through their impact. And so when you were younger, if Michael Jordan would have come to your house and he would have told you, Andy, you can achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve in this life. Like, you are talented, you are brave, you can do whatever you want. How would that have impacted your life?
I mean, I've not met him, but I've stood 5 feet away from him. So on the 22nd of December 2001, I went to New York to watch him at Madison Square Garden, and I cried, and I was in tears. He was stood there. I was 18 years old. I was like, "Oh my God, Michael's in front of me!" And because I knew my friend Izzy Rodriguez, I can say his name. He won't care. He's from the Bronx, and I met him in a shop called Beau Brummel down in Soho in Manhattan. And I just stayed friends and still friends to his day. His stepson's been out to Australia to see me. I know his partner pretty well, and Andrew's been here to see me, and I've flown to them quite a lot, spent the summer there. And he used to be a salsa dancer, and he knew the security at Madison Square Garden, so that's how we got down to courtside in the third quarter. Michael always used to sit in the third quarter, and went down there, shouted his name. Luther Vandross actually told me to shut up. So if you remember Luther Vandross, the singer, he was an incredible singer, and I didn't know who he was at the time, but I got there. So yes, he didn't come to my house, but I was so close to him. I remember the sweat on the back of his bald head. Like, that has seen him in flesh and shooting the shots I'd always watched, because he came out of retirement, right? So he'd had 3 years in retirement from the Bulls, and then 9/11 happened. He came back for the Wizards, and it was my chance. So I spent all my 18th birthday money. I had to make it happen. My mum was not happy that I'd spent all my money to go and watch him play, but I had to make it happen. And that's the sort of drive that I've got. Maybe that's come from Michael. Maybe that has come from my PE teacher was influential too, because he used to call me Whitey. Whitey, you're going to play basketball tonight? You're going to hit a three for me? I'm like, yeah. And that's why I call kids by their nicknames as well, because it creates connection, right? I'm not Mr. White. Well, I am Mr. White, but I get some of the kids to call me Andy, whether the school likes it or not. And yeah, so that did impact me, because I was able to even just say the words, I've watched Michael. How many people on the planet get to say that, especially people from England as well? Not many people have seen Michael Jordan play, and some people don't believe me. And I get the photo out, I'll go, well, see, I'm there, I was there. And so would that, I've kind of forgotten your question now, but was it about impacting?
Yeah, if he would have come up to you as a kid.
Yeah, of course it would have done. But just seeing him did. So imagine I was sat down with him. I would, me being me, I would have asked him a million questions. I wouldn't have shied away. I would have, yeah, I mean, of course, he impacted me regardless. But if he was speaking to him, I would have got as much knowledge from him as possible, and I would have been able to let him leave the house. Yeah, he would have impacted me. I mean, I've seen those videos of those children and people in wheelchairs when he used to go around and do charity work. How could that not inspire them, even if they are, unfortunately, terminal illness or whatever? It just gives people hope, doesn't it? Even the fact that I've seen him gave me hope, that anything's possible. Most people think, I can't go and watch Steph Curry play. Well, why can't you? Of course you can. You can make it happen if you choose to. Yes, it might be quite hard, but you have choice to go and make something happen. So the fact that I flew out there is a transferable skill. I've been to the All-Star game. I've been to NCAA finals. I've climbed Fox glaciers in New Zealand. I've been to Times Square. All those little those moments of watching Michael Jordan made me realize I can go and do anything I want. So, going to Sydney Harbour or wherever you might have been as well, right? You can make these things like what you're doing now, traveling the world. I want to do that. I just obviously can't with kids, but I've done everything I've wanted so far. And when we're on a podcast like this, it makes you realize maybe it's those little well, they're not micro, they're huge, but those moments transfer to go, well, because a lot of people growing up used to say to me when I said I was going to travel the world, they'd look at me and their eyes would roll. No, that's not going to happen, because you'd say it again and again, and a year goes past. But so then I stopped talking and I booked it. And when it was booked and it was printed, that's when I said, I'm off. No, you're not. Come on, yeah. No, there's my flight ticket. I'm going backpacking for a year. And I went. And that's why I ended up in Australia, living in Australia. I'm from England, but I live in Australia because I make shit happen. And is it because I didn't have a father growing up? Is it because I took aspects of Michael's But Michael J. Fox is probably more about the charisma as well, and his body language. It's probably definitely more Michael Jordan's character and the drive and the failure over and over again. That's why he's so successful. You know, he would number the missed shots he would take and miss, but get rewarded for the things he would do in public as well. You know, and he'd work his ass off in private, but but get rewarded for what he would do in public. That mentality of not wanting to lose and just take pieces of people's conversation. When somebody would put him down, he'd go, right, I'm using that to get you. Not that I would do that to get you, but it's not about proving anyone else wrong for me. It's about proving myself right. Does
Yes,
that make sense?
absolutely. Yeah. And what you just mentioned, maybe it was because you didn't have a father, but you had all these other influential male figures. Exactly. Because here's the thing. Let's say you did have a father that was, very prominent in your life and very involved, but maybe he wasn't a great guy. Maybe he wasn't a great role model, but yet you looked up to him more than you did Michael J. Fox or Michael Jordan. And because of that, you turned into a completely different person. Because when we have these role models, I know for me, it was like Mary-Kate and Ashley and Hilary Duff and Disney princesses. When you have these role models and they are showing you that there's a different type of life, there's a different type of existence that is out there other than what you're experiencing and what is in your known reality, right? Like what is in front of you. You see that and you're like, oh my gosh, that's possible. I can be a person like that. I can achieve things like that. I can overcome things like that. And so, circling back to your experience with Michael Jordan and seeing him for the first time, you mentioned that you cried. What was going through your mind when you were crying and when you were seeing him for the first time?
It was like a mirage. I'm walking down the steps at Madison Square Garden, and I wanted to get there early, but Izzy was finishing work at a certain time, and then we had to get a subway to Madison Square Garden, and we got in there. So the introductions had already been. So I was devastated for that. But I was like the last one out of the stadium. And I was wearing a big orange New York jacket, Knicks jacket, and I'm not even a Knicks fan, but New York is one of my favorite cities, and I've been to like 20 ball games there at the Garden. It's like one of my favorite places. But I'm walking down and I can just see him shooting. I'm like, I've watched this guy for the last like 7 or 8 years. Obviously, come from baseball. It was like the time he was at baseball when I started to play. I started to play basketball around 94, 95, and it was like a mirage. It was like looking at the Grand Canyon. When I first looked at the Grand Canyon, I felt fake for a moment because it looked so flat, but it was so deep. It was that like a postcard, and that's kind of what it was for like Michael as well. Felt it was like a moving postcard, like what Allen Iverson would say. It was like he was mesmerized by him being there in front of him. He got to play against him, didn't he? But damn, that would have been amazing. But yeah, it was. I just couldn't stop looking at him. Yeah, just couldn't stop looking. I remember just not being able to take my eyes off him. I didn't care if I needed the toilet. Didn't care if I was hungry. I was not leaving that stadium until he was not in my vision, because I had to grasp every moment of it. So yeah, that was like one of my favorite moments of my life. What else can you say about it? It's a mirage. Yeah, I just had to keep pinching myself like it was real, and it was amazing. It was one of the best nights I've ever had. And to top it off, he hit the game-winning shot as well. And I got the newspaper cut out from the next day. And Latrell Sprewell was trying to defend him. He came off a pick and he popped the shot, and he was just like, the only thing about the whole situation was I wished it was a Bulls kit he was wearing, not a Wizards kit. But you know what? Beggars can't be choosers, so I'll take it.
And you mentioned that you met your dad for the first time when you were like 9 or 10.
Yeah, I met him in a car park at a leisure centre. My dad had left before I was born. Look, my dad's I get along with my dad. He's a great person. He was very successful in the fashion business. He had an outdoor clothing company. I have no issues with him. If my mum and dad ever listen to this, I understand. I understand why relationships don't work out. I've said to him, I don't blame either of them. What I've said to them both, though, is you both didn't work hard enough for a little boy to have his mum and dad in his life, whether they're together or not. And that's the sad part. And that I don't know if I'll ever. No, it's not about getting over it. I'm okay with it now, but it does. You can't help but it's innate within you, isn't it? It's part of your DNA, and well, it's not, but you know what I mean. The figurative language being used, and it makes you want to be the best dad you can be. But that brings a lot of guilt because when I need a moment, I should be maybe being a dad. I am an only child, so I got privacy and I got silence. Children these days can't be bored. They can't be. I think children do struggle with the silence, and my children do. But we put them in that situation where they have to be bored. We allow them to struggle. But my dad was a. I don't blame my dad. I don't blame my mum. I just wish they both worked hard as a team for me to have them both in my life, so I could have that. But I didn't turn out bad. I didn't have that whole. I don't think I had that whole single child thing going on. What people talk about. Would it have been nice to have a role model? Yeah, but at the same time, I don't know any different. I had a good childhood. My mum looked after me. My mum paid for everything. My mum had an all right, well-paid job back then. And again, back those in the 80s and 90s, my mum, if it was a man doing my mum's job, he would have got paid more. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one because I don't want to upset anybody at the same time. But I just wish they both tried hard for me to have them both in my life so I could reap the benefits of a male role figure. But he was successful. I think he was successful. I mean, it's perceived success anyway. He's a good person. He has a nice house. He has nice things. He gets to travel now, and I love that for him. Brilliant. Why not? I think what I'm always seeking both of them is approval. I want them to be proud of me. I never said that to them, so if they listen to this, they've heard it now, I suppose. But I do. I think I always want my son and my daughter to hear that I'm proud of them. I'll be their biggest critics, but I'll also be their biggest advocates, and I'll make sure they know I'm proud of them, because whether they are proud of me, I want you. It's like you want to know, don't you? Yeah, it's like you want to know that they're proud of you, and I think they are, but I don't know if they are.
They've never said it.
No, I don't believe so. And if they have, I apologize, but I don't. You just don't know, do you? But I feel like that's something. Did they tell me they love me? Yes, they do. But I want to know they're proud of me. I've built this platform that's reaching a lot of people. I want them to be proud of that. I don't think they understand my journey, because I think mentality of adults back then is you kind of get on with it. You get on with it. You not suck it up, but you, in a way, suck it up. Like sometimes I'll tell my son, you need to suck that up. There's things that do need to be sucked up, but there is a lot of things that we're told to suck up back then that are actually quite detrimental. You know what I mean? So I don't think they fully understand my journey, because they have been through it in a different way. So therefore, because they've had to suck it up and suppress emotions, that we should do the same. But we have more awareness now. We have more talk and discussion around all of that type of thing. And I've turned everything I've been through into, I think, something quite powerful and positive. And would it be nice? Is going back to that, I'm not doing it to prove myself then wrong. I'm doing it to prove myself right. But there is, in a little secret diary to hear to you now, and I know people are going to hear it, but there is part of me that goes, I want those people to acknowledge that it is something amazing. And even just for them to listen to it and go, actually, this is pretty good. This is not just another person doing a podcast. This is actually pretty good. I like the people that are coming on your podcast. This is incredible. Wow, good on you. I love that you've done that. So anyway, there you go with that. Yeah. I got to be careful because I don't want to upset anyone, but that's just how I feel,
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I actually want to talk on two things that you mentioned. So the first one is you met your dad in a parking lot. I also met my biological father for the first time in a parking lot.
No way.
Yeah, that's,
We've got something more in common, haven't we?
We do, we do. And so how did okay, and this is what I want to unpack before I go further. How did meeting your biological father in a parking lot compare to meeting or seeing Michael Jordan for the first time? What were the different sensations in your body, as well as how did you feel in those environments?
Oh, damn, girl. Wow, that's a tough question. Well, I mean, I wasn't nervous to watch Michael Jordan, to see him for the first time. You couldn't have got me in there any faster. You know what I mean? My dad. Now, I'd seen newspaper cutouts of my dad before because my mum would show him. But I did grow up. I remember growing up thinking, I'm glad I'm not a woman because I don't want to just get pregnant if I don't want to be pregnant. Because I thought you just got pregnant, right? Women just randomly got pregnant. I was like, damn. I remember saying to my mum, I'm glad I'm not a woman because imagine I didn't want a baby, but a baby's just there. That's weird. I don't want that. So, but obviously it became very clear. But I do remember just standing in the dinner line at school going, well, I don't have a dad. And then one boy said, but you have to have a dad, whether, you know what I mean? Like to have a baby, you have to have a dad. Well, what? Well, I don't. So where did I come from? So I'm living proof, right? So I remember that. That was funny. That's just come back to me. Weird. But but I was so excited to watch Michael Jordan play, of course. My dad, of course, I'd seen the newspaper cutouts. I'm about to see my dad, who's supposed to be my parent. Weird. I mean, all my friends had not been through that. None of my friends were meeting their dads in a car park or in another scenario, or at least if they were, I didn't know about it. So I'm weird. Um, this is odd. I'm trying to remember that little 9-year-old brain, if I'm honest, but I remember him. It was the only time I've seen my mum and dad together, like stood in the same vision as me. Only time. The only time. Never before, never after. He had a remote control car as a present. I remember playing with that. I can't remember the discussion. I'm trying to remember how I feel.
Isn't it crazy that you can remember the sweat beads on Michael Jordan's head, but you can't remember the conversation that you had with your dad or anything very significant about it?
Yeah. Hmm.
It's almost like little Andy knew that Michael Jordan was his role model and who that masculine role model would be for him, regardless of who helped create him.
Yeah. And when you say it, fuck, it is. Sorry, you asked me if you're allowed to curse. Am I allowed to curse on
Yeah,
yours? Yours
go
is
for
probably
it.
more.
Go for it.
Uh,
Yes.
I have to do the question back to you now. Yeah, yeah. I don't remember the conversations. I remember thinking it was weird. To sum it up, I remember thinking it was weird, but there must have been a part of me that's excited. Is that a highlight? No. It's probably a lot of curiosity. Obviously, I didn't have the adult questions as an 8, 9-year-old that I did ask when I was older. But was I was I thinking, am I going to see him again? Am I going to be on my own with this guy? Because at the end of the day, in a 9-year-old head, it's a stranger.
Mhm.
End of story, right? Maybe you felt the same. How old? Can I ask? How old were you when
Same
you?
age.
Oh no way! Oh my god,
Yeah.
this is mental. Um, I mean, and what am I saying? Does it? Is it the same as you? Do you feel the
Mhm.
same, or do you remember crystal clear, like the sweat on the head? Do you remember those little moments?
No, so similarly, I was raised predominantly by females, and I had a stepdad. He's great. He's my sister's dad. He came in it when I was like 6 years old, and that has its own story. But I met my biological father when I was 9 in a parking lot. He had a trunk full of gifts for all the birthdays that he wasn't a part of that were purchased by his whoever his girlfriend was at the time or something. I don't know. I remember they had all these presents, and there was like a Barbie clock and like all these things, and I remember my mom telling me, I think it was like the same day she took me to meet him, and she was like, "You're going to meet your dad today." And I was like, "Why?" And she was like, "Well, because I think it's important that you meet him." And I remember thinking to myself, I have grown
Oh,
up with this woman telling me how terrible of a person this man is. and how she didn't want him in my life because of how terrible he was. And now you're taking me to meet this terrible person. And I was like, and I remember thinking to myself how backwards that was because I was like, okay, mom, you're supposed to be my protector. I'm a child. You're supposed to take care of me. You've had this discernment to keep me away from this bad person. You've taught me that he's not my parent, things like that. But now you want me to meet him and you want me to think of him in some significant way because he donated sperm to get me here. And so I can remember that being the first time that I realized that maybe my elders or my parents or my family, maybe they actually didn't know what was best for me. And maybe they had a construed identity or like a construed perception on what family is and the importance of it and what constitutes a family member versus like who's allowed to be in your life versus I remember just thinking to myself, I don't know if these people actually know what's good for me. Like they're very conflicting statements here. And I just remember thinking to myself, maybe they don't have it all figured out.
Yeah, that is we didn't dissect that last week. And so you just taught me something new. And I don't remember if my mum said anything negative about my dad prior to that. If she had, maybe I would have thought the same as you, but maybe I just wasn't that deep of a thinker at that age. You clearly were. And you're so right. Why would they put us in this position if they don't like that person? Never looked at it like that before. If they'd hurt
Yeah.
you so much. But at the same time, maybe you feel, did you resonate with me when I said our mums and dads didn't work hard enough for us both to have both of them in our life? Because I'm sure I know that my children, whether it doesn't work out or not, they need her. And I think she's smart. She knows she's pretty mature and she knows the the role of a father. She would never stop them seeing me. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
No matter if I did the worst thing ever, you know.
Yeah, I think it depends, because I believe that there's generational beliefs, and one of the older generational beliefs is that, family is the most important thing. You have to hold on to family. And when you come from a family that has basically connected through trauma, like mine, you come from a heavily traumatized family, and you come from a lot of wounded people who are inflicting pain on one another because that's all they've ever known. I believe that there does need to be better discernment because even though I had people that I share blood with, that's the only thing that I share with them. And I felt a lot of pressure as a child to embrace the people that my family wanted me to be around, even though I myself didn't want to embrace those people. I felt forced because of this quote unquote family dynamic. And so I really think it depends. Your soul might have, incarnated into this life with this belief that, family is important. That might have been trickled down onto you. And that's something that is still important to you, but maybe you're evaluating how and in what form that shows up in your life. And obviously, each generation of people is going through Earth School or Life School with their own assignment, their own graduating class, and essentially everybody's soul is meant to learn different things, and each of us have attachments to different identities and different beliefs. For me, the whole family thing wasn't one of the things that I was attached to because I never felt safe within my family dynamic. It didn't even matter with the women in my family. I didn't feel safe. And so I never had this loyalty and this, like commitment to family. I was like, man, I got to get the F out of here. I got to get a better family. Where are Mary Kate and Ashley at? Like, how do I have that family? And I used to actually get really sad about it. And I used to think, well, why do some parents, like, why do some people get, a mom and dad that are present? And why do some people, get to vacation with their families and have game nights and like do all these things? And like their parents don't verbally abuse them. Like, why do I get verbally abused and they don't? And I used to have really bad comparisonitis in that way. And it used to make me feel really sad about what I felt like I didn't get to experience.
Mm.
Whereas now I'm really grateful because my family were exactly who they needed to be. The dynamic was exactly what it needed to be in order for me to become who I am today. And so I wouldn't change a thing about it, similar as you. you
Mm.
know, but I think it's important to talk about these characters because these characters are actually oftentimes what makes an even, yes, our parents and the people who raise us shape us, but these characters are what inspire us. And that is not either the same or if more important than being the provider because it's like, you know, once you become an adult, you know, you either learn or unlearn everything that you've been taught, right? Because now you're an adult, so now you're not a kid anymore, so you can actually choose to unprogram yourself from what you were programmed into. But the people who inspired you as a kid, who continue to inspire you as an adult, that's going to just keep going and that's going to shape you and fuel you and it's going to have this really positive luminescent effect on your soul and on your character because in your mind these characters can do no wrong because they've always been such good symbolism for you whereas your parents are flawed and maybe you don't agree with the way they you know raised you or their dynamics or the type of relationships they allowed into their own lives and then they put on you you know but
Mm.
these characters they are just the light at the end of the tunnel that guides us forward and so Michael J. Fox, Michael Jordan, and Zachary, is that his name?
Zach Morris.
Zach Morris by Saved by the Bell. Other than this quiet confidence that they all have, what is one thing that you feel like connects them all? Like, what's one trait, one belief, one behavior that you feel like connects all these three characters that you yourself embody?
It's what we said before, that word that begins with C, confidence. That's what comes to my straight immediately. Yeah, confidence. They all give off confidence. There is a level of arrogance between probably Michael and Zach, which I don't think Michael J. Fox had. But Michael maybe had to be a little bit more arrogant to do what he did on the stage that he had and to not allow the voices of people trying to pull him off the pedestal down. Maybe you have to have an arrogance to survive and be the best in that scenario. Do you know what I mean? Will we have somebody like him again with the world we're currently living in, where people can get cancelled on social media and really be? No, maybe not. You know, he was just as big, if not bigger, than all the current celebrities, and there was no social media. You know, maybe he would have to be even more arrogant to survive the modern technological world that we currently live in. Who knows? We'll never know the answer to that. But to go back to your point, it was definitely confidence. And I've been ripped apart for my confidence with my workplace bullying, with accolades that I've won through, for me, the art of connection. It wasn't even the ability to teach. It was because I had the ability to connect. And I think the more people like Michael, they get pulled down, don't they? And sorry, my daughter's coming. I thought we would survive without it. But
You're fine.
do you want to say hi? Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, ladies, as well.
Later. Look at Alexis. This is Alexis now. She talks about princesses and stuff. And who do you like to be? You like to be a princess, don't you? She loves to be a princess.
Who's her favorite princess?
She asked, who's your favorite princess?
Hello, them.
Look at me. Who? Speak properly. All of them. All of them.
Oh, wow. Do you tell her my favorite princess is Pocahontas?
Pocahontas is Alexis's favorite. You don't know who Pocahontas is, do you? No, we'd never put that one on for her. We'll have to. Maybe we'll have to
Yeah.
put Pocahontas on for you. Is it okay? Can you give me a little time? Is that all right? I will come and see you shortly.
How old is she?
4.
Oh,
4.5.
good age.
Yeah. She's 4.5. She's cute. She's got a lot of empathy. That one. She'll get upset if anyone's feelings are hurt. So she's got a good soul. She's going to be a good mother. That's for sure. Not that she has to be a mother anytime soon, because I will kill that guy. But there you go.
Yes, or a mother, period. She gets to decide.
Yes, I know.
Don't put grandbaby pressure on her, Andrew.
No, I just don't want. I just don't want it to. It's just in my heart, isn't it? I just don't want it to be just young. I'd love her to go and do the things she really wants to do, and that can come at any time in her life. You know, I don't know. That's just my old mentality coming in, I suppose. But anyway.
Andrew, thank you so much for sharing your story and your characters and your experience with me. For anybody that's listening in and wants to learn more, maybe they have a story to share with you about an obstacle that they overcame, or maybe they'd just like to work with you or meet you. Where can they find you at?
Oh, my handle is Leading Our Own Way. If anyone wants to send me a personal email, it's Andrew at Leading Our Own Way. But yeah, Leading Our Own Way is across everything. I'm lucky enough that no one took that acronym and that name, so it's just the same across Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, everything. Yeah, leading our own way, or LOOW, as you can see behind me.
If there is one piece of advice or one thing that you would like to leave a listener with that would inspire them or maybe help them overcome bullying or something difficult they might be dealing with, what would it be?
You know, I give the same advice, and it is very, very simple. And I just want people to be themselves. Just be yourself. People will love you. They may hate you. They might despise you, but it's all their insecurities that are coming out of why they would hate you. If they're not comfortable with themselves, if they were comfortable with themselves, they still might not like you, but they wouldn't need to go to lengths to hurt you or destroy you. So be yourself, whatever it is you may be doing. If you're becoming a nurse, or you're becoming a doctor, or you're becoming a teacher, don't be all those things. Just be yourself. Everything else will come first. Connection shouldn't be a practice. It should be a foundation. And if you are in the midst of bullying and you think being yourself has worked against you, because it did for me, if we're being specific on bullying, document everything, get people around you, anyone that you trust, open up in a way that you can share how you feel. And then if sometimes I needed a witness, I needed somebody there for me, and nobody wanted to be, because obviously they would have put a target on their back. So go to someone that you trust, but document everybody, and have a purpose outside of it, so it can distract you for a bit, because eventually these people do undo themselves, and the truth does come out eventually. It can't last forever. But yeah, if you have purpose and you enjoy the things you do, and you're satisfied in the things you do as well, I think those type of things will start to bounce off you a little bit better, and not bring you down like it did for me anyway. And it's everywhere. Sad to say is that there's people like that everywhere. So we have to work on ourselves. We can't work on them. We can't control them, but we can control ourselves. We can make choices, but you know what? Top of the chain, be yourself. Never change who you are for anybody else, because I wish I didn't.
Oh, thank you so much. Great words, great words. And speaking on purpose, Andrew also has a book called How to Lead with Purpose. And I'll put everything in the description and the show notes below, so everyone can check it out and support him. And maybe they will be able to be a guest on your incredible podcast. Thank you again for joining me. You are a great friend, and I am happy to say that I would love to come see you in Australia in the winter. So hopefully we can set something up.
Absolutely. It'll be summer here, but yes, absolutely.
Yes. Well, my winter, your summer, I love it. So yes, that sounds amazing. Thank you again for being a guest, and I'll talk to you very soon.
Thank you for having me. It's such an honor.